The Guardians got their best pitching performance of the year on Sunday, and they lost. That's a problem. We'll talk about that on today's Locked On Guardians, looking at the most concerning signs from the road trip, what we're not concerned about yet, and we'll look for some signs of hope and optimism on today's Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into a Monday edition of Locked On Guardians. Thank you for being here. It's our favorite half hour of the day, win or lose, honestly. We hope it is for you. This is Locked On Guardians. I'm your host, Justin Latta. Today we're going to talk about the Guardians losing the finale in the series against the Angels and why that's a problem. They lost the best starting pitching performance they've gotten all year. We'll talk more about that pitching performance from Luis Ortiz. We'll talk about the weekend's games. We'll talk about what's concerning right now, what's not as concerning yet. We'll look for some positive things as well. And I'm Justin Latta. I've been covering the Guardians minor league system since 2007, where I've seen many a top prospect, almost all, not as many as good as Travis Bazzana, maybe a few. I used to be the editor-in-chief of Guardians Baseball Insider. I am currently at the News Herald and the Morning Journal and my own Substack, nextyearincleveland.substack.com. Before we get into today's show, we also want to let you know today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Solo show today for me. Appreciate you being here if you're a first-timer or if you're an everydayer. Welcome back. We appreciate you. We do this every day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We are covering the Cleveland Guardians for a half hour every single day here on the network. And we hope you're here with us, and we hope you're hanging in there from a rough weekend. Understand it was pretty rough. Look, I'm going to preface all of this with it's early. I know there are some people who are pressing panic buttons and they're not satisfied with performance, and that's fair. That's totally fair. I don't think anything from the performance for the most part has been great. I think we can say that. It is 9 games. You know, the Tigers are, I think, 5-3, 5-2. The Guardians are 2 games back. It's April 7th as you're listening to this. So we are going to preface all this with early. It's not late enough in April to really go to the edge of the cliff here and start shouting. It's not. There's plenty of time to turn it around. That being said, it's early, but there are some troubling signs. I hate the fact that we're already doing the second round of Guardians Weekly Therapy. And it's, we're 3 series in. The Guardians are 1-2. Things looked pretty good in Kansas City, and then they got to San Diego, and they got whooped by San Diego because San Diego's good. Now, San Diego did go out and lose to 2 or 3 of the Cubs, but they didn't have their best pitching anyway. The Guardians got their best start of the season on Sunday, and they lost. Luis Ortiz gave you a quality start. 6 innings, 3 runs, navigated through some problems, had a couple of good, clean, quick innings, looked much better. This was by far the best start Luis Ortiz has had as a Guardian, whether it was in Arizona or here, or San Diego, in LA. By far the best showing he's had in an extended outing. And they still lost. It's not great when a lot of your problems so far have been the starting pitching hasn't been good. The Guardians are, I believe, getting the second least amount of innings so far from their starters. Second least, 43 innings so far. The only team that's gotten less innings from their starters is the Minnesota Twins. So there's your first sign of optimism. The Twins starting pitchers are not doing crap either. There's your first sign. I feel like Jeff Foxworthy. If you remember those videos. Comment if you remember Jeff Foxworthy's blue collar comedy tour. I had a good time at some of those. So, but for once, the starting pitching wasn't the issue. It was the offense, it was the bullpen, and it's been the defense. It's been the defense almost this whole time. The Guardians are tied for first. I believe they're tied for first right now when it comes to defense and errors. They have 7 errors. They are tied for first in errors at 7. Not a good formula. And we could question on Sunday whether or not Luis Ortiz should have been out there for the 6th inning. You know, he had a good 5th inning. And the one criticism I will have about this for Stephen Vogt is some second guessing. Is oftentimes he'll say he likes to take starters out. He likes to have guys end on a high note. He wants them to build confidence, wants them to have a good successful outing, especially for pitchers, right? So the ideal thing would have been remove Luis Ortiz after the 5th inning because he had gotten through his best start. He got you 5 innings, let him end on a high note, and let him build the confidence. That being said, I think you can make the case to understand for Stephen Vogt that he left Luis Ortiz in because Gavin Williams gave you 3 innings on Friday. Tanner Bibee didn't give you much help on Saturday, right? He struggled. Gave up. It was the worst start of his career. We'll touch on Tanner Bibee's start too. So I think you can understand him saying, need a little more length from Ortiz. Could use 1 more inning. And he was really good in the 5th inning. And normally you want to be careful and say, I know there's a lot of people are saying, well, if the guy's rolling, leave him in. Why would you take him out? Because just because he's always done great doesn't mean he's always going to do great. Your car always runs good, right? Until it doesn't. Until you need an oil change and you ignore it. Or until you need to rotate your tires. Or until you need a new muffler, right? Your car is running perfectly fine until you need to fix something. Until you need maintenance. The same goes for pitchers. Just because he was doing well doesn't mean he's going to continue doing well. And I understand the 5th inning he was good. And I'm not saying Stephen Vogt shouldn't have taken him out there or should have left him out, put him back out there. I understand why he did because of the starts the last 2 nights. And look what happened when the bullpen came in. It didn't really matter. Luis Ortiz, that decision around Luis Ortiz ended up being inconsequential on Sunday. Because the bullpen didn't get it done, the offense didn't get it done, the defense was not good again. Luis Ortiz wasn't the problem. I could have made a case to take him out in the 5th inning, and we'll talk more about some bullpen strategy in the second segment as well. We'll do box score bingo. We'll do some 3 stars. We'll talk about what's most concerning, what's not concerning right now. Luis Ortiz had a good start. That's a good thing. It's not a good thing the Guardians didn't win that start because they were able to win the Gavin Williams start when he was bad. The offense, mostly, Jose Ramirez, that we'll talk about, was good. There were some positive this weekend. Believe it or not, there were some good things. The problem is the good things didn't add up to enough wins. The Angels, this is the first time I think I saw since 2018 that they've won 3 series in a row or to start the season. Or maybe it was longer than that. The Angels maybe they're a better team than we give them credit for. Like they're not a good organization. Maybe they are a little better. I don't know. The Guardians games aren't played on paper, but the Guardians are on paper a better team than the Angels. They're certainly a better run organization. I mean, Mike Trout's got 3 playoff games. Could you imagine Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani on the Guardians with what they've already done? I know, painful to think about. I know. They should have won this series. They should have. We talked on Friday about a sweep. They didn't sweep. They lost 2 or 3. They didn't even win the series against the worst team. Not good. Ortiz was good. The bullpen was not. The defense was not. Tanner Bibee was not. Gavin Williams was not. Jose Ramirez was good. Kyle Manzardo, kind of good. Let's get into some things that were good from the series because we got a lot of bad to talk about. So let's get the good out of the way because what happened with the good didn't lead to wins. So that's bad, right? When you talk about the good things that did happen, which was Luis Ortiz, Jose Ramirez on an early season heater, 3 home runs on Friday night, essentially carried the Guardians offense to a win. Jose Ramirez, not typically a quick starter in April. A guy who usually struggles in April. And that wrist seems to be fine offensively. Defensively, it shouldn't be affecting him, but we're going to talk about Jose Ramirez's defense in the 3rd segment. But Jose offensively looks great so far. That's a great sign. Usually in April, he's kind of Santana looks fine. He had his first home run of the year in this series. Got a couple other hits, had some walks. Santana's fine. He's not, great. He's not exploding. He's just consistent, which is what the Guardians paid for. The reason the Guardians brought Carlos Santana back when they decided they were going to do that and trade Josh Naylor now was they wanted some consistency and stability. Santana has been that. We'll talk about some issues with that later too. But for now, Santana is not part of the problem. That's a good thing. The Guardians are hitting for more power, and they have more patience this year. The Guardians are near the top of the league in home runs so far. They have 13 home runs. That's 6. And 3 of those are from 4 from Jose Ramirez, 3 on Friday. Even at 10, they're still middle of the pack. Let's even say Jose hits 1 on Friday instead of 2. They're at 11. That's still, again, middle of the pack. Isolated power. ISO. which separates slugging from average to show you what your power metrics are. So you subtract the slugging percentage from average. The Guardians at 179 are 8th in the league. The teams that are ahead of them are the Cubs, playing good so far. The Tigers playing good so far. The Giants are a surprise. The Nationals are up there. They're a weird one. Diamondbacks, good. Dodgers, good. Yankees, really good. So they're in good company with ISO. And they are middle of the pack in walks. They're 12th at 9.6% walk rate. That's 2% of where they were above last year. So they're drawing some walks. There's more power and patience, which is what we want with this lineup. It just hasn't been consistent yet. They haven't gotten the big hit, which we'll talk about too. Kyle Manzardo on the home run against lefties on Sunday. That was really good. That's all he did. That's all they did on Sunday was pretty much that and a sac fly. They manufactured one run without a hit. That was good. And then it stopped. They had bases loaded. Didn't get one in. Gabriel Arias and John Kenson-Noel had Lane Thomas on second base. Both had horrendous at-bats and strikeouts. The defense didn't come through on Sunday. It wasn't good Saturday. The bullpen didn't come through Sunday. The offense didn't come through Sunday. They had some offense on Saturday, but nobody was good Saturday. Saturday, the only good thing Saturday was Joey Cantillo, really. Joey Cantillo pitched better on Saturday. It was his best outing by far. There was another outing on Saturday that was not good we'll talk about, which was Tanner Bibee and Tristan McKenzie. We'll talk about that next. We'll do some box score bingo, 3 stars. We'll get into what's concerning me the most, what's not concerning yet, and we are going to keep looking for positive signs of hope because that's all we have to do right now. It's all we can live on. More of that next on Locked On Guardians. Just Ingredients. Got my Just Ingredients right here. When it comes to fueling your body, quality matters. That is why Just Ingredients is changing the game with high-quality, clean products designed to support better health and peak performance. Just Ingredients offers an NSF-certified line of protein powder, electrolytes, pre-workout, and creatine, all rigorously tested to ensure they're free from substances banned by major athletic organizations. And Just Ingredients is also partnered with 2-time MVP Bryce Harper, who trusts their NSF-certified sports line to fuel his training and recovery. If it's good enough for Bryce Harper, it's got to be good enough for us, right? Jeff loves it. I know he does it for quick meals on the go. It's very important for a guy who's busy like that. My favorite thing about Just Ingredients, just kind of looking at some of their packaging and the things you can enjoy about it, is the fact that they have really spelled out ingredients. They're not only doing clean ingredients, they're giving you exactly what's in your packages with the protein powders and the pre-workouts. They tell you exactly what's in there. Very clear about it. It's good for people with allergies. It's good for all kinds of people to know exactly what you're putting in your body, and it's good ingredients, so you can trust it. Visit justingredients.us and use code LOCKEDMLB for 20% off. And for more wellness tips, follow just.ingredients on Instagram. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Guardians part of your routine. Every day, we're covering the Cleveland Guardians. It's a half hour every day. It's the best place to get your Guardians news, analysis. We're going deep on the farm system, the draft, all that kind of stuff here you're not getting anywhere else on a 5-day basis. So, come and hang out every day. It's our favorite half hour of the day. We hope it's yours too. If you like what you're hearing, come over and hang out and be an insider. We were chatting over the weekend during games, people who are up anyway, definitely on Sunday. And then coming up on Monday night at 8 p.m., if you're an insider, we're going to do a video chat. So all of our insiders are going to come hang out with me. I have a special guest join us. And we're just going to talk about the season so far. We're going to talk about the Guardians road trip. We're going to talk about the minor leagues. We're going to talk about the home opener, all those kind of things. Just going to be an hour-long chat on Monday night as you're listening to this. So sign up to be an insider. It's joinsubtext.com/LockedOnGuardians. You can chat with us during games, chat with us when the news happens. You can ask us questions. We're doing exclusive mailbags. We're doing some bonus content, written and audio and video. So all those things and more over at the Insiders group over there. The link is in your show description if you're listening or watching. It's over there. So come hang out. And I also want to let you know that coming up this week, we have the MLB Squad Show is happening on Tuesday in your feed. So I'm going to be on that. There's going to be a bunch of other hosts from Locked On, different teams and MLB. We're all going to get together in like a panel style show. And we're just going to talk about all the headlines around Major League Baseball, the storylines, fun stuff. Going to be a lot of fun. So come hang out with us on Tuesday as we do stuff like that. All right, let's get into a little bit of Tanner Bibee's issues on Saturday. Tanner Bibee missed 16 bats, not strikeouts, but he had 16 whiffs on Saturday, which was a fifth all time for him in terms of his career. So tied for fifth. He had the most whiffs of any pitcher on Saturday night. That was the good. The bad is that he was hit as hard as he's ever been hit. The 7 runs he allowed are the most he's ever allowed. There were a lot of hard hit balls in that game. The hard hit rate he gave up in that game, I think, was like first or second all time for him in a start, worst. Feast or famine for Tanner Bibee in that game. Not a good start, just simply one of his worst starts. There's no getting around that. It was probably the worst start of his major league career. Bad timing for that because the Angels are not a good lineup. I know the saying is the other team gets paid too, right? The other team gets paid too. They're major leaguers. There are major leaguers on that team. There are. But Tanner Bibee's better than them. And that doesn't mean just because you're better than somebody else, you're more talented than somebody else, doesn't mean you're always going to win in any sport or anything in life. There are bad nights. There are off nights. And Tanner Bibee had a bad night. He either was missing bats, guys were whiffings, again, 16 whiffs, pretty good, or they were hitting the ball in the screws. It was BP when he was in the zone. So it was feast or famine for him. Just a bad night overall. And Gavin Williams, I'm going to touch more on Gavin Williams in the third segment. Just things have not carried over since spring training. That was a maddeningly inconsistent performance. And the messages I get from most people that I talk to the most are it's just so frustrating because Gavin Williams has the talent and it's just not there right now. It hasn't manifested itself in the way we want. We'll talk about what's most concerning and what's not as concerning in the third segment. So we'll get into that. Let's do a quick run through here of some of these games on box score bingo, and we'll do 3 stars. So Friday night's box score bingo, good one, right? 16 base runners, 5 extra base hits. That generally equates to, I don't know, Jeff's better at the math on these, but you're talking 16 base runners right there alone should be enough for, 6 runs, maybe 5. You add in, you got 5 extra base hits, then yeah, you get to 8 to 10 runs. The Guardians scored 8 runs. So that all mathed out, I think, on Friday night. That was good. Friday night's 3 stars, very easy. Jose Ramirez, 3 home runs. That's, a given. Jacob Junis. How about Jacob Junis coming in through a really good inning? Got Mike Trout to strike out. We'll talk more about Jacob Junis in the third segment as well. That was a good performance. Brian Roque had 2 hits in that game too, so he had a good game. We have to give him a star for that. Saturday, not as good. You did have 11 base runners. That was a good thing. Only 2 extra base hits, however, on Saturday. That's not enough. That should give you about 4 to 6 runs. The Guardians, did get that amount of runs on Saturday. So they did get 4 runs, but the pitching wasn't good. So it didn't matter. They could have scored more and it wouldn't have mattered. Saturday stars, Stephen Kwan had a couple of hits. Bo Naylor hit his first home run, had a walk in that game too. There were some good things he did. And then I gave the other star to Joey Cantillo because he went 2 innings. Again, he looked as good as he's looked all season. I've been worried about Joey Cantillo, but he went 2 1/3, 2 strikeouts. He was perfect. You have to give him the nod for that one. And on Sunday, oh boy, things are a lot harder to find on Sunday, aren't they? 8 base runners total, 1 extra base hit. That was Kyle Manzardo's home run. That generally is going to get you maybe 2 runs. And that's exactly what happened on Sunday. The Guardians scored 2 runs. The offense just did not come through with hits and runners. Again, I said, Gabriel Arias and John Kenzie Noel had Lane Thomas on second base. Both of them just were reaching out of the zone for high fastballs, chased out of there. They had the bases loaded at one point only because it had a walk and a hit by pitch. And then I think 2 walks even. Stephen Kwan walked. Just, they didn't have it. They didn't have it. The bottom of the order couldn't come through. The 6 through 9, I think I did the math. The 6 through 9 on Sunday was something like 0 for, I'm going to look it up again because I'm pretty sure it was pretty awful. It was one of the worst things I'd seen. 0 for 8, 0 for 10, 0 for 11, 0 for 12, 0 for 13. The bottom 6, 0 for 13 with a walk. That's not cutting it. You can't have Noel and Arias and Hedges and Rocchio all become automatic outs. And you had Hedges in there. Bo Naylor may or may not have been good. Nolan Jones came in and made it out. Things haven't been good for him overall so far. Reaching for stars on Sunday was a tough one. We'll give it to Kyle Manzardo because he had a home run off a lefty. That's good. We're seeing Kyle Manzardo do the things we thought he could do as a prospect. You're encouraged by that. Luis Ortiz had a quality start. It was the first quality start of the year. I don't know if I said that in the first segment. It was the first quality start of the year. 9 games in. Okay. Shane Bieber last year on a shredded ACL, a shredded UCL, a shredded elbow, had 2 quality starts to start the year. He only made 2 starts last year. They were both quality starts. His elbow was wrecked, and he gave you 2 quality starts before his season was over. The Guardians got their first on Sunday, the 9th game of the season, and it came from Luis Ortiz. It didn't come from Tanner Bibee. It didn't come from Gavin Williams. And I'm willing to give Tanner a mulligan because he was pulled on his first start because he had just been, puking up his guts 24 hours before or 36 hours before. But he laid an egg on Saturday, and Gavin Williams laid an egg Friday. Just, concerning overall. All right, we are going to talk about what is concerning. We're going to talk about what's not as concerning yet for the Guardians 9 games in, and we'll talk about some signs of hope and progress, and we'll try to be a little bit positive on ending this note on today's Locked On Guardians. All right, baseball is coming back to Cleveland, and we know nothing better than catching a MLB game live. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, the smell of the ballpark food. We are almost there, Cleveland. It's Tuesday. If you're looking to go last minute, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. Last minute deals, all in pricing, and the lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, as we know, tickets always drop as Game Time gets closer, so you can get an incredible deal right before first pitch. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Locked On, and the Guardians' regular season is coming up. It's here. They're opening at home on Tuesday, finally, and you can count on them to grab tickets that meet your needs every day of the week. It's going to be cold, so prices should be pretty good. If you want to go, I'm going to be there Tuesday. I'm going to be there Wednesday, weather depending. Ticket prices should be pretty good on Game Time, honestly, and it's going to help you find the best deals. You might be able to get some really good seats on Wednesday night for a real good price. It's going to tell you exactly where the best seats are because they have the all-in pricing and the last-minute deals. They can tell you exactly what it's going to cost to get into Game Time. I'm using Game Time for baseball. I'm using it for concerts, using it for comedy shows, using it all the time because I always find the best deals on Game Time. And I know I can do it at the last minute if we're making that decision. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. All right, let's get into the last bit of today's Locked On Guardians. Thank you for making it this far and hanging out. I know it's been a tough one. It was a tough weekend. We're going to talk about some good things. We talked about some good things in the first segment. We're talking about some more. Before we get out here, we have to talk about some concerning things. Jose Ramirez, offensively, no concerns. No concerns. Things look great for him. Love that. What I am worried about is teams pitching around Jose Ramirez. I am not the biggest Ron Washington fan. I think he's kind of goofy as a manager. It's a lot of like old school and whatever. Maybe it's the Angels organization and not him because he was good with the Rangers. But times have changed. Not saying he's not been successful because he has, but some of the things I hear and see are a little bit goofy. But that's just the Angels. But what he did over the rest of the week after Friday, I thought was smart. He walked Jose Ramirez when he had the chance. The Angels just didn't pitch to him when there was runners on. If first base was open, they put him on first. I would be worried if more teams take the same approach because the Guardians' offense is Jose Ramirez, Kyle Manzardo, Steven Kwan, a little bit of Carlos Santana, but not a lot. I would rather pitch to Carlos Santana, and if he beats you, I beat you. And after that, everybody else is like, I'll take my chances with them. I will at this point. Even if there is upside, I'm going to make them prove it. So I worry about more teams doing that. My other worry right now is coming home to Chicago. So the Guardians are coming home finally, and the offense is scuffling a little bit. Again, they're up there in power. They're up there. They're doing better with walks and patience. Those are some good things. But again, a lot of it is Steven Kwan is hitting, getting on base. Jose Ramirez looks good, and Kyle Manzardo's hit the ball well so far. You're getting little bits from Kyle Manzardo and Carlos Santana. But after that top four, things are kind of falling off. Lane Thomas not off to a great start. Brian Rocchio inconsistent. Bo Naylor inconsistent. You're getting nothing from right field at all so far. Coming home and playing in the cold weather this week, doesn't seem like a great recipe to get the offense going. So that means you're putting more burden on your pitching. That hasn't been great. You're putting more burden on playing better defense. That hasn't been great, especially, and it's not going to be any easier in the cold. Now, the White Sox have to play in the same conditions the Guardians do, obviously. But nobody expects anything from the White Sox, so anything they do good is good for them and whatever. The Guardians have to play better. They have to find some home cooking. It's going to be tough sledding. You know, again, the good thing is the White Sox got to face the same conditions. But expecting the Guardians to find some offense or play better defense or rely on their pitching a little more to fight the cold weather, it's I don't love it. I don't love the prospect of that. I'll be honest with you. I think the Guardians need. I'm not saying there's no such thing as a must-win series in April. Not in April 7th. But the Guardians probably need to take 2 or 3 this week. They have to. It's not good for morale to lose 2 or 3 to the Angels. It's one road trip. It's 9 games to start the year, and they haven't been home yet. But it's not good for morale to lose that series or get swept, lose that series, come home and start your home portion of your series, and then lose to the White Sox, who were the worst team in baseball last year and the worst team in baseball in my lifetime. Probably worse than the Tigers were in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. Got to be better. Tristan McKenzie. Oh boy, that was hard to watch on Saturday. Harder to listen to my voice right there. I don't know how much longer the Guardians can keep carrying him. I wanted to believe so badly that putting him in the bullpen was going to work, that it was going to force him to throw strikes and attack. He was kind of on his last lifeline, and he was going to have to come out there and just be aggressive. And he's throwing balls in the dirt, 57 feet, 56 feet. And it just looks like a guy who doesn't have conviction in what he's throwing. He doesn't know where it's going. And he just doesn't feel like, it doesn't look like watching his body language. He's confident in what's going on out there. Now I'm just watching on TV. I can't tell you for sure that's the case or not. So I'm fully speculation, but that's just body language and what's happening. So some of it's driven by results, right? It's a results-based thing. I'm fully aware of that. But how many situations are you going to have him around where you can put him into games? Like, the only games you can put him in are games like Saturday. It's either games, I mean, do you want to put him in up 10-4? Could get out of hand quickly. You don't want to be down 10-4 a lot. Those are the only games you feel like putting him in. I just don't see how much longer that can work. And I don't really see a situation right now where if the Guardians were to DFA him off the roster and try to put him into the AAA, I don't see who's picking him up. I know it's only a couple of outings, but like, I just don't see someone saying, oh, we got to claim that guy. Maybe. My proposal would be to see more Jacob Junis. Jacob Junis had a great outing on Friday, picking up Gavin Williams, struck out Mike Trout, got a batter out Sunday. I know he didn't go as long on Sunday because I don't know. I want to see Jacob Junis get built up a little more. I want to see more of him because he seems to be good so far. He's one of the guys in the bullpen that's performing. They have other guys that are shaky, that are faltering, that might have been overused last year. Tristan McKenzie is only really an option when things are lopsided. Jacob Junis should be a guy that should be available for 2 or 3 innings behind your starters that aren't going that long right now. I would like to see him built up a little bit more. I know he was sick in camp and he had a hard time getting enough innings to build up throughout the year, but I'd like to see him to the point where you can use him 2 innings to bridge that gap because he looks good so far. He's been really good. The Guardians just got to do the little things better. I am worried about the defense as a whole because defense last year wasn't a problem. The good thing about defense is generally kind of fixable, right? Like sloppy errors are sometimes just lapses and mental stuff and fluky sometimes, right? And I don't think it's for a lack of effort. This team we saw last year, they were out taking infield before games. They were doing defensive work. They claimed they were doing all this work, and it was, you could see it on the field if you were covering games last year. We heard about it. So I don't think it's for a lack of effort. It's not like this team's not trying. So I don't think the defense is going to be a long-term problem, but it's one of those things that's got to be shored up quickly. When you're not pitching well, you can't give the other team extra outs. The Yankees were a great offense a year ago, and their defense cost them a World Series. The Guardians certainly don't have a Yankees defense or offense. They might have a Yankees defense. I hope not. But they don't have the Yankees offense, so you can't be giving team extra outs. You can't make your pitchers throw more pitches when they're struggling. and the defense has to correct fast, because that's a good way to spiral things. The pitching, maybe the pitching does get better quickly, but if the defense behind them doesn't pick them up because they can't strike everybody out, and you got guys in your team that really aren't strikeout guys, sometimes the defense has to pick them up. You have to have that. The Guardians got to find some base running too. They've made way too many base running errors. Not only that, but they only have 3 steals this year. They only have 3 steals. That puts them 27th in baseball. This is an offense that's doing a little bit better in terms of power and patience. And I know someone's going to comment and say, well, they gave up Andres Gimenez, who had 30 steals last year. 100% agree. Kwan's not running because of hamstring issues. Jose hasn't run a lot yet because he hurt the wrist. Lane Thomas isn't getting on base, so he can't really run when he's getting on base. And after that, you don't really have a whole lot of base stealers on this team. Nolan Jones stole 20 bases 2 years ago, but he's had injury issues. Bo Naylor could run a little, but he's not, great. He shouldn't be stealing bases, maybe. He had a 2020 season in the minors as a catcher. Maybe he should run more. I don't know. Rocchio's not been a good base stealer. Arias is not a good base stealer. They're going to have to find a way to move their legs on the bases a little bit at some point. And really, this is just not last year's bullpen right now. That's what's concerning to me. Cade Smith was great Friday. He was not good Sunday. The velocity was down. He got hit hard a little bit. That's concerning. We've already had some weird games from Hunter Gaddis. Tim Herron's been a little bit here and there. Manuel Clase Friday was not good again. He got hit hard. He has not settled in yet. So I'm concerned about my concern level for Manuel Clase has raised a little bit, only because he hasn't really, he hasn't been in a situation. The Guardians haven't won a lot of games that he can save, right? He blew up opening day in Kansas City. And after that, the Guardians haven't been in a lot of situations for him to save. So my level of concern for Clase is like a 3 as opposed to a 1, because he hasn't really been in consistent situations to save games. Friday wasn't a save chance. He didn't pitch much in the Padres series. He's had 1 save opportunity, blew it. I'm not that worried, but I'd like to see him settle in. But maybe it's going to be, he's not going to settle in until they start putting him in some situations where he's been in. And you're getting nothing from the non-Quan part of the outfield. Lane Thomas hasn't shown up yet. And he's chasing, and he's striking out. And Nolan Jones has struck out a lot. John Kenzamel struck out a lot. Those guys have all the bat speed in the world, but bat speed doesn't mean a whole lot when you're not making contact. I don't love that Gavin Williams, the hype train, hasn't left Arizona. He was okay against Kansas City. He was extremely inefficient against the Angels, whose lineup is not as good as Kansas City. I'm worried about the pitch mix with Williams. I want to see more curveballs. He threw some sweepers that were good. The fastball they were on, he just was too many foul balls, too many deep counts. Things haven't carried over from spring training. He looked so good in spring training, and it hasn't happened yet in the majors or in the regular season. All right, let's close this out on a good note. Here's what I'm not concerned about so far. I am not worried about Tanner Bibee. He had the food poisoning. He pitched okay in Kansas City. He got pulled early because of that. He wasn't good Saturday. It's 1 start. He wasn't good. Just end of that. He'll get better from it. I'm not worried about Tanner Bibee at all. And I think Jose Ramirez's defense is fine. Jose had 9 errors all of 2024. He was one of the best defenders in the league. Probably should have won a Gold Glove. He's got 4 errors this year so far. 4. We're 9 games in. Father Time comes for us all. It'll come for Jose Ramirez at some point. I don't think Father Time has just smacked him in the face defensively, where, the Monstars came out and gave him a ball and zapped his defensive skills away from him. I don't think it's going to continue this pace. So I don't think overnight Jose Ramirez's defense just evaporated. It'll be fine. Everybody else has to figure it out, but his defense, I think, will be fine. Everybody else I don't trust. Luis Ortiz didn't back up a play at home on a Quan throwing error. He wasn't in the right position. That was ugly. Fundamentals are important, and they're not doing them well right now. I'm not worried about Jose. I think he'll get there. Let's end on this note. Travis Bazzana. The buzz is loud. 8 times on base in his first 10 plate appearances over the weekend. First home run. He was a triple shy of the cycle on Saturday. Hitting the ball the opposite field with authority. His first home run was to left center. The bat looks there. The confidence looks there. He looked a little better defensively. He did make a throwing error, but I thought he looked better defensively when I watched him on Saturday. This is going to be a loud buzz throughout the year. It's going to become a point. It's going to reach a pitch quickly where, hey, how fast can we get this guy to AAA? Hey, how fast can we get into the majors? Because if the Guardians' offense needs a boost, And Travis Bazzana is just buzzing through Double-A pitching. He's got to get to Triple-A at some point. We're keep an eye on it. But getting him off to a good start is really good. We'll see how much pressure that puts on against the Guardians. They're coming home. The Guardians are coming home. Hopefully a little bit of home cooking will do them better. I don't know if the weather is the right conditions for the offense or the defense or the pitching. Something's got to give, though. The White Sox are not great. They've played a little bit better, but they're still not good. The Angels aren't that great either. And the Guardians still lost 2 or 3. But we're coming home. The home opener is one of the best days of the year. It should be a holiday for every city, no matter where you go. I firmly believe that. I'm going to be there. Let me know if you're going to be there. I'm going to be there, rain or shine, or, no shine, mostly snow, whatever. I'll be there. Let me know if you're going to be there. We'll try to meet up. We'll try to chat. I'll be there Wednesday night as well. I'm excited for the home portion of the schedule to get here, baseball weather or not. All right, tomorrow's show. I might have a special guest tomorrow. We are doing the Insider virtual chat at 8 o'clock, so if you want to be a part of that, sign up to be an insider at joinsubtext.com/LockedOnGuardians. Make sure if you got that link to show up at 8 o'clock, I'll resend it again. We're chatting there. I might have a special guest for that. I might have a special guest for the show Monday, not sure, or for Tuesday's show. We're going to talk about the first weekend of the minors. We will do a home opener preview. We will maybe take some mailbag questions as well. We'll talk about the first series a little bit more. So come and hang out for that with insiders. And then the regular show will happen where we might have a special guest as well. Whether Jeff's here or not, I don't know. But we'll talk about the first week of the minors. I'm going to go a little bit deeper on Travis Bazzana on Tuesday's show from what I saw over the weekend. I got some things I want to point out that were really good. We'll get into more of the minor league stuff. We'll get into some mailbag questions, and we'll preview the home opener. So make sure you're subscribing. Make sure you're leaving reviews on Apple Podcasts if you like what you're hearing. If you don't like 100% what you're hearing, be constructive. Give us a 5-star review, but say, hey, you can improve on this. Sign up to be an insider. Download all the audio episodes. Make sure they're auto-downloaded so you don't miss an episode. Make sure you're hitting a bell on YouTube so you never miss a video. A lot of you watch my reaction videos over the weekend. I appreciate that. You can email the show at loguardianshow@gmail.com. You can do all that stuff to get a hold of us. Appreciate all of you being here. Appreciate y'all weathering the storm with me as a solo host. Appreciate y'all being here despite the rocky weekend from the Guardians. I do believe better times are ahead. And it's early, but there are some concerning signs. That's the message today. It's early, but there are things the Guardians have to get better at. We can't just say it's early. There are things they actually have to do to improve. So we'll watch for that. We'll talk about that more coming up on the rest of Locked On Guardians. Thank you all for tuning in. And in the meantime, go Guardians, go get those things cleaned up.